Do you suffer from debilitating migraines? You know, that throbbing pain in the front or side of your head that's so severe you're unable to work or do anything other than retreat into a dark and quiet room? Have you had them for years and just haven't found a solution? Call Dr. Elizabeth Ebersol and put an end to your debilitating migraines forever. Or go to her website at www.handmadehealth.com. That's www.handmadehealth.com.
Hello, everybody. It's Kenny Matthews, Billy Martin, episode number 13 of Balls to the Wall. How are you doing, Mr. Martin Jr.?
I mean, it's a great day in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's beautiful outside, and I'm getting to talk sports with my buddy.
I walked into my office today, and I had to run away from bees. It is the middle of November. Why am I running away from bees? It doesn't make sense to me.
I just see Tommy Boy going, bees!
I'm sure the lady that was coming out the door was wondering what the heck was I doing as I dropped papers on the ground and doing this number.
They are nesting right now. Bees and wasps are looking for homes right now. So everybody walk around your house outside and go fight the bees.
It's unreal. And mowing my yard November 15th. That's always nice, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, we do appreciate you guys listening to us, man. We encourage you to go to Rumble and to YouTube and subscribe for us. It's very easy. It's one click. It's done. We'd really appreciate that a lot. And we also appreciate you if you like us, obviously on Facebook and Twitter and also on Instagram. My man, Billy Martin, we got a couple topics here that I'm really interested in talking with you about this week. It's my favorite hour of the week. Talk sports, my buddy. Man, that college football scene last week. Whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, it is unreal. I mean, let's do a little of the national scene just a little bit first before we get to the Big 12. Hey, Georgia, somebody almost scored 20 points on them this year. They gave up 17 to Tennessee. I still think Georgia is by far the best team in college football this year. They have just enough offense, but that defense is becoming a brick wall, to say the least right now. I mean, to go through the Southeastern Conference slate and not give up 20 points yet, that tells me you're doing something right over there on that side of the football, Billy. It's unreal to watch how much pressure and how much havoc they cause just with their front four. And that's not sending linebackers or anybody else into that. I mean, it looks like they're sending 6 or 7 guys. It's just 4 really big dudes.
Well, and we've talked about it a bunch. I'm such a strong believer in it all starts at the line anyways. But one thing we haven't talked about much, it's more of a throwback the clock thing, but at the end of the day, a great defense is what wins the national championship. We live in this world where offense is so highly touted in every sport, right? Absolutely. In baseball, we want to talk about home runs, and in basketball, it's about 3 points. But at the end of the day, the great defense almost always wins. And then you mix in an offense like they've got, it's no bulldog.
No. And they can run the football. It is a throwback, running the football and playing great defense. I mean, it's, that's a universal type deal. You can play defense in any weather. You can run the football in any type of weather situation. It's the dynamic passing attacks that you have to really alter your offense when you have weather issues, which here we are mid-November. I know it doesn't feel that way in the Metroplex, but some places in the United States, it is an issue with weather. But yeah, I mean, they're the cream of the crop. I mean, and to tell you the truth, I mean, they don't even really have to get much from their quarterback. I mean, if this is the Bill Parcells, you are the bus driver. I mean, he really is. I mean, as long as he doesn't turn the football over, they're going to win the football game. And so it makes it a lot easier on your offensive coordinator on how to call things. I mean, the battle is looming with Alabama. It looks like, in the SEC championship game, if Bama can win out, which I'm assuming that they're going to do. I assume that they're going to beat Auburn now that Bo Nix is out for the year for Auburn. So, I mean, I know it's in Jordan-Hare. I know it's not in Tuscaloosa this year, but, to me, Alabama's probably got the best shot at upending Georgia. And I think even if they beat them in the Southeastern Conference Championship game, Georgia will be in the Final Four. So you're going to have to try to beat them again, which I don't think would happen.
Well, it definitely builds for great drama. And you love those. We talk about the rivalry games a lot. Like, what about the Ohio State, Michigan State coming up? I mean, I'm not excited to see that game right now.
Yes, and you throw in Michigan State that's in that loop. They've already beat Michigan. I know they lost to Minnesota, but they play also Ohio State too. I mean, you're going to find out a whole lot here in the next couple of weeks from the Big Ten. Who's going to be probably be the representative in that Final Four? You still have Cincinnati looming. Now I know the last couple of weeks have not been very impressive. I think Cincinnati's going to have to get some help, in that order. You're going to need maybe some 2 lost teams for Cincinnati to maybe, kind of get over that hump. But you easily could have that. You could easily have Alabama with 2 losses. You could easily have Michigan or Ohio State with 2 losses. Or Oregon. If they play Utah, it's not inconceivable. Which as you and I said a couple of weeks ago, that BCS thing, why you don't pay attention to it, in October, because look at all the things that have happened since that's come out. So, we always predict that it's going to be all these undefeated teams at the end of the year, and rarely is it. It's generally 1 or 2 teams that are undefeated, maybe, or that's in that loop. So, it's for me, it's. I know you're big on this. The atmosphere. Watching the games last week, the atmosphere was incredible to see. It really, really was. And that's the one sport that needs 100% fans in the stand is college football. No question.
Well, Longhorns lost to Kansas. I know that breaks my Sooner friend's heart. But let's talk about the 2 teams nearest and dearest to our hearts. Let's talk about your Sooners and my Red Raiders, because my partner in crime here predicted what was going to happen in Lubbock, Texas. I said, Tiger McGuire, look out. This guy's a freak. He recruited 3 guys, but I think before he even got the job, and then takes him out, and they win this game on a 62-yard field goal. My daughter and son were there jumping around the field afterwards, sending me
excellent
FaceTime stuff. It was awesome. And then your Sooners lose amidst rumors that your coach is leaving and going to LSU. So what do we just see happening? I mean, we see one team lose because they think their coach is leaving, and another team win because their new coach they're so excited about, they could turn it up a notch. And it just speaks of how mental all these sports are, because that's insane.
It's an emotion. College football to me is the most emotional sport that's around. It feeds off of positivity or negativity, one way or the other. And it permeates throughout from top to bottom. Think about this. Texas Tech has a 21-point lead in that game. They give it up, but they still found enough resolve on that last drive to get in what I guess you could say somewhat field goal range. You don't see too many 62-yard field goals. But it's just in one game you have Texas Tech sky high, you have them bottom out, and then they're back to sky high within 30 minutes of each other in actual time. It's unreal. And I do like the energy. We talked a little bit about that last week. The energy that Texas Tech had. It was night and day from when Texas Tech was in Norman 3 weeks ago when they played. And like I told you before, I said they had no energy in a game. It looked like that was the last place they wanted to be. You go out to Jones Stadium last Saturday, it was back to Leach excitement type days with the crowd and everybody being involved and everything. So, I mean, it's an absolute home run for you guys. Now, obviously one game is one game, but it does start to build future for you guys. I think that's a block. That's one.
Right, and the new coach gets there, and it looks like he's possibly put Texas Tech in a bowl game opportunity.
Yes, that's right. Because we did mention that last week, saying, man, the rest of their schedule, we didn't know if they were going to be able to scratch 6 wins. Well, that's one of the ones you didn't think you're going to get, and you got. So, and how huge would that be for McGuire to get bowl practices for that team going for next year? You're trying to install, a new mentality, trying to install a new defense, a new offense. You get those 15 extra bowl day practices with your team. That's huge because you can build off of that for your spring. You don't want that off that much amount of time there, but also it breeds confidence. It just breeds confidence.
About the new kid in town.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that breeds confidence on the recruiting front, which, the recruiting front in Texas Tech, it's not been on fire since Leach has left. I mean, it's been almost an afterthought, out in Lubbock, with Tuberville and, Wells but now you're getting the average Tech alum now probably checking that out now. Or 3 weeks ago, he didn't give a damn about it, And so, and I think that what it really did is it got the student body riled up. Obviously your kids are there. They're excited. You're talking about it now. They're going to that restaurant Sunday afternoon talking about that great game where it just seemed like a dark cloud had been around for a good period of time out there in Lubbock. Now seems like you see sunshine, you see, something there, and I'm happy for it, and I couldn't be any happier for Coach McGuire. I mean, he's just he's a better humanitarian, he's a better human than he is head coach, and that's saying a lot, because he's an excellent head coach to me, So I mean, I think it's bright for you guys for sure, and I'm glad your kids got to enjoy that. That must have been one nice night in Lubbock that I wouldn't have minded being a part of last Saturday.
Well, it was. And everybody listening, Kenny said this was going to happen. He knew what kind of guy McGuire was. I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know if he was related to Jerry Maguire, the agent, or not. And Kenny did. He told me exactly what was going to happen. I don't think even you thought it was going to happen this
No.
quickly, but that speaks of character, right? That proves how right you were. So all you guys listening, remember where you got this. If you're on Bumble, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to what we're doing because we're only going to get better. We're going to keep giving you stuff like this, and we'd love to know what y'all want us to talk about.
It's a good, and the thing about it, I think the thing it is about it is that with Oklahoma and Texas leaving the conference, there is opportunities now for the Texas Techs, Oklahoma States, West Virginias, whatever, to win the Big 12 going forward. So when you've got a staple, at the head coach, and you may have one of the best head coaches in that league, that brings year after year expectations of competing, which I don't think Texas Tech's really thought that they could compete for a Big 12 championship in a decade or so.
No, as you said earlier, not since Mike Leach left.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, so now you could sell that on the recruiting front. You could go into these homes now and say, hey, we're going to start competing here. We're building something here. And I think it's huge, man. I think it's a home run. It's an absolute home. And as for my Sooners, Lord have mercy. I don't, there's been something missing in Norman since game one. They have played 6 good quarters of football 4 against Texas Tech and the second half against Texas. I mean, that's really what it's come down to in week 10. And I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. It just, the message is not being, that happens with some teams sometimes. You just don't get the message that year. You just don't get it. I don't know if Lincoln Riley's been able to pull that motivational card that you get sometimes, it's like, hey, let's do this. And then boom, you see something get improved the next week. It's been maddening for the Sooners. They played down to their competition. They've been able to win some games late. They were fortunate to win some games late. And it was really a soft 9-0, to tell you the truth. I mean, it really was, when their best victory probably was what? West Virginia, Texas Tech, up until that point in time, and now with Texas losing, again, you can't really say that was a good win now at that point in time, since Texas lost 5 in a row since. It's just mind-boggling. And the talent is there. I mean, you and I both know they were preseason top 4, top 3 going into all the publications, and they never played like a top 5 team. I remember the first BCS standings that came out, Billy. What did I say? Everybody was mad that they were 8. I said, we haven't played like a top 10 team all year. I thought it was fortunate that they had us at 8, because I didn't think they were a top 10 all year. So I don't know how you correct it. Don't know exactly what it is, but that's in the offseason. And, I don't know if you make changes with your coaching staff. I don't know if you make, philosophical changes in how you coach kids and all that other stuff. But you know what? That's why you get $8 million a year, to figure that out. It's not for me to figure it out. Lincoln Riley, you need to figure it out. And if it's a distraction, you wanting to go to Baton Rouge, you need to be honest with people. Hey, I did talk to people. Don't hide behind that. Oh, well, I want to stay here, that all. Meanwhile, your agent's talking to an AD over at Baton Rouge, or they're talking to other people, whatever it may be. Just come out, be like Jimbo Fisher. How many times Jimbo Fisher said he is not going to Baton Rouge in the last 10 days? He's been adamant about it. I mean, almost over the top, saying he's not going anywhere.
Which makes me think he's already got the job, because we've seen that so many times, right? And oh, no way. And boom, as soon as the bowl game's over, we have an announcement.
Yes, it is.
We're going to learn a lot this week, because your Sooners almost have a trap game at Iowa State. I mean,
yes.
Going to Iowa State after what just happened, this is gonna tell us a lot about maybe this whole thing.
Well, that's what I think it is. I think it's one of those where I think Lincoln Riley said it right. He says, we can take this one way or another. We can be motivated going forward, or we can mail it in now since it's late, whichever one. Now, I think the one good thing he'll have is that his seniors, since it's senior night, he will have his seniors, which are supposedly you're supposed to be your leaders, they'll be locked in. They know it's their last home game. So that generally permeates down to the rest of the team if your seniors are locked in, because they know the sense of urgency. But still, you've still got to get out there on the football field. And Iowa State has nothing to lose. They've already lost 4 or 5 games this year. So, I mean, they go in there free, open up the playbook, play anywhere, blitz 10 if you want, whatever. I mean, they can do that because, in essence, they're not playing for the Big 12 championship game anymore. They've been eliminated from that. So, it'll be interesting to see what type of performance the Sooners will be able to put up, because we haven't even mentioned their quarterback play was awful last Saturday. I mean, that's what was the biggest thing to me. I mean, Caleb Williams has played great. Don't get me wrong. I know he's a true freshman. He's going to have some bad games. I give him. He just looked like he had the yips last Saturday, and that to me is more scary than anything else. Steve Sachs was a very good short second baseman. He made a lot of plays, but every time you worried if that ball was going to get to first base or not, on grounders, you worry about quarterbacks if they get the zips. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, everybody wants to beat an OU or a Texas anyways, but now that we know they're leaving,
yeah,
come on, there's that extra incentive to kick them on the ass on their way out. And I don't know. It's been a really unique year, and
Yes, it has.
and I want to see how this all unfolds, because what you're seeing, and obviously you're probably more critical than every other fan. You went to school there, but if you're seeing these things with that team, what's LSU seeing?
Yeah, yeah,
What are they interested in? I mean,
yeah.
do they really want to drive a Lincoln, or do they want a Cadillac? Come on.
We always know your own warts, right? Better than anybody else's lives. Yes. Well, I do appreciate you guys listening to us. We appreciate if you would subscribe to us on Rumble and subscribe to us on YouTube. That'll help us out a lot. Like Billy said earlier, comments, any of those kind of things, we really appreciate it. We want to make this the best. We want to make this pleasurable for you guys. We want you to listen to us when you're working out. We want you to listen to us in the car, whatever may be the case. And we're just going to talk sports. We're not going to talk politics. That was the one thing that Billy and I agreed that we weren't going to do when we started this. We weren't going to talk politics. We wanted you to have a break from all that. We're not going to talk vaccines. We're not going to talk, Republican, Democrats, all that other stuff. We got a Fox and a CNN channel, most people. If you want to see that and hear it, turn it on. Not going to get it here. Even though sometimes we might want to say something, I find myself biting my tongue.
Absolutely. And where we came up with this conclusion, we were talking about the All-Star game being removed from Atlanta.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And regardless of what anybody's political views are, shouldn't baseball have done exactly what Kenny and Billy are doing and said, hey, we're not here to talk about politics. You want to talk about two-seam fastballs? You want to talk about launch angles? We'll talk about it. But we're the escape from that. So
absolutely.
Out of politics. I'm sick of hearing athletes, actors talking about politics. Just because you're good at hitting a baseball or catching a pass or good at playing make-believe doesn't mean you know a damn thing about politics. If you want to run for office, go get him. If not, leave us the hell alone.
Hey, LeBron James, you're a great basketball player, but I can give an F about what your political stance are. I don't need to see them. Don't need to hear
He's been a multi-millionaire since he was 19 years old.
I don't want to hear it. And it took him forever to become an activist. I mean, he didn't start this crap until about 3-4 years ago. So think about how long he's been in the NBA. 20 years now, almost. What is it, 16 years, something of that nature? Then all of a sudden he's become a Malcolm X, activist. I don't want to hear it. You had your chance earlier, dude, and I don't want to hear it now. Get on the Black Lives Matter and all that routine that other people were on way before he was publicly, and now he thinks he can move himself to the leaderboard of that. No, I don't want to hear it.
But you said it right in the first place. He's a great basketball player. Talk about basketball.
Yes.
You know what? Because at the end of the day, that we know you're good at.
Yeah. Misguided.
If you want to run for office,
yeah,
then let's do that later.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? And he's also been misguided on some of his, his things he've said too. So I think that
supposed to go there.
Yeah, I think that publicist might have needs to get in that ear a few times and say, "Don't press send." Let's take this word out, add this. But anyhow, let's get to the boys' bounce back last week. Wow. I mean, this time last week when we were talking about, looked like they were just completely disinterested. There was supposed to be this plan on how you're going to slow this train down and all this other stuff. Broncos put out the blue book for that. Well, guess what? The blue book got burned up pretty quick last Sunday because the Falcons came in and they limped out of here on the wrong side of a beat down last week. And I'm not going to say it was a great Falcon team. It's pretty average, probably a mediocre Falcon team. But anytime you put up 40 and you only give up 3 on the other side, that's dominance. That's dominance.
Still an NFL football team. At the end of the day, right? A week ago, we all scratched our head. We all had doubts that America's team was maybe not so much. And they come back like this did what they did. That's what great teams do. They get kicked in the crotch.
Yes.
And they get up and they keep fighting. And I'm pretty damn convinced this team's going deep into the playoffs.
Well, and the thing about it is they still have a whole lot of bodies, that are not playing too. And they got Pro Bowl type players that are not in the lineup right now. So, those are those things that are going to get into the lineup here later, next year. And they should be fresh, which, that's big, especially with the extra game this year. That's huge also. So, yeah, I mean, they just completely blew the doors off of that foul. And somewhere, some way, Billy, I'd like to have been with Dan Quinn Sunday night and see that smile with that little bottle of adult beverage that he probably had somewhere Sunday night going, yeah, vindication. You guys fired me. Well, guess what? You guys take that defensive effort against you. And
Well, think about one thing we were talking about earlier with coaches movement, right? We were talking about Texas Tech and OU's coaches leaving, changing. We got a situation like that going on in Dallas right now, right?
Yeah.
We've got an offensive coordinator that is there a hotter potential head coach in the NFL right now? And is Jerry going to pull the Jason Garrett move and sit down with him and promise him that he's the next guy, make him the highest paid offensive coordinator, or are we about to lose something special in Dallas?
Well, if you think about it, I mean, with the National Football League, there's going to be some openings. We're already there's going to be a minimum of 5 to 6 openings, and it happens every year.
Absolutely.
If he's not the first call, he's definitely the second call. I can't tell you who would be first call automatically, but
how come the Raiders haven't called him already? I mean,
great question. Especially with Eric Bieniemy seeming like the star is not near as shiny anymore on him. He's been basically the next coach in the making, and he hasn't gotten it yet. I mean, Kellen Moore, the other thing you're getting with Kellen Moore is he even 35? I mean, you're getting a young guy.
I care about, are the guys buying in?
Yeah.
And has he got it?
Well, for him, if he gets a head coach job next year, you're talking about somebody that he has any kind of success. That guy could be a head, coaching and head coach in the NFL for maybe 15 to 20 plus years, and he could still walk away and be in his mid 50s, from the game. So yes, it's. I think you have a great point because Jerry's already done this before, so there's been a precedent, on that. Now, will that be something that Jerry will say didn't quite work out the way he wanted it, just because Garrett didn't? I should say he failed. I don't think that's fair to say. He just didn't live up to maybe Jerry's expectations or lofty goals, I would say,
or all Cowboy fans' goals. Yeah. But here's the part that matters. Jerry's was true to his word.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt he didn't give him every single opportunity known to man.
Yes. Gave him 10 years. Gave him 10 years. That's a long time to be in NFL.
Oh, and think about it. When were they first calling for his head? 3 years, 4 years before.
I was about to say probably about 3 or 4 years. Yeah,
absolutely. And look, the Cowboys have set a precedence for that going back to Tom Landry.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, probably should have been fired 2 or 3 seasons before Jerry bought the team. And the way that whole deal went down, and Jerry looked so bad to the public because, he's doing this with his buddy Jimmy. Well, Bum Bright told him he was going to let Landry know. He didn't. Jerry got on a plane the next day and went and flew to Florida, got in a golf cart, found Landry on the 7th hole of a golf course to tell him in person. But you don't hear the press talking about that
because it's not sensationalized.
The man like he's some moron, and like they continue to do. He doesn't belong as the general manager. I don't know that there are how many more general managers in the NFL won a national championship, played college football as an undersized offensive lineman for the national champions. I doubt there are very many that have the resume he does.
When you told me that the other day, I was looking around. I couldn't find one. I was doing that the other night during the Raider game doing the Monday night game going, I can't find one here. I mean, it's hard to find a general manager that played. It's so, it's really hard to try to find, some man who's got a national championship. But, I actually, and to tell you the truth, played with a very good Hogs team during that decade. The Hogs in Texas won the Southwest Conference every year in the 60s. I mean, those two were the big dogs in the Southwest Conference.
Absolutely.
So, it's not like Jerry was a bad player. He's probably a little underrated as a football player, college-wise. He probably is.
He's definitely undersized. I mean, I don't care. Look at him. I mean, he's not that big of a guy.
And think about what he was doing. There was none of this dropping back and pass protection and all that stuff back then. You were firing off the ball, moving somebody off the line of scrimmage in the 60s, dude. I mean, Frank Broyles was not sitting in no shotgun with 4 wide receivers, buddy. No. So, yes, I agree wholeheartedly about that. But yeah, you said he's going to be much maligned. He's always going to be, he's an easy target. So, instead of doing the good feel stuff story about it, doesn't sell papers, but him being at a bar chasing around 25-year-old girl, everybody wants to see that.
Yeah, right. Well, it's funny. Everybody gets so angry when they see him on the sidelines or anything like that. And it's, to me, the owners like Jerry, Cuban, George Steinbrenner, who look what my father had to go through with George Steinbrenner, the on and off, again, 5 times stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you're a real fan, you really want that type of owner.
Absolutely.
That cares that much.
Absolutely.
That they'll do whatever they can, whatever's in their power to win. I'd so much rather have that guy than the other non-existent guy, because
or you want an owner like Rooney who just allows everybody to do their job. He doesn't get in the way. He says, I hired a GM to do this. I hired a head coach to do this. I hired, development of whatever. And he just says, do it. I'm not stepping in your way. I'm not going to, handcuff you. Here's your budget, whatever it may be the case. But yeah, you want that passionate guy that lives on every play. You don't think George Steinbrenner lived on every strike, every ball?
Absolutely.
George Steinbrenner took to the grave a whole lot of Billy Martin Sr.'s hair with him.
Absolutely.
But that's what you want, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, because I want that. That's what I want. I want my guy being upset when we play like crap. I want him to say, hey, we play like crap. It needs to get changed. I don't want that same monotone coaches talk, GM talk, president talk. Mm-hmm. Played out on that. Then I got that in 1910. Got that in 1915. I've seen that quote before. I want a new one. I do want to finish. We do want to finish the pod up though with the John Gruden. We had talked about this about a month ago when all this kind of went down, and we had some, I'd say we had some hot sports opinions on that, because I thought some of the things that he said was not near as bad as people were portraying it to be. I understood understood the homosexual remarks, understood the ladies stuff, that probably puts you in a little pickle these days on some things. But hey, I have no problem with John Gruden suing the NFL for this reason alone. He was the scapegoat of that whole investigation. They took his life away, his livelihood away, He'll never coach an NFL. He'll never call another NFL football game. And you know what? There is probably 59,565 other emails that now are sealed that we can't get and look at. Meanwhile, Danny Snyder is still running the Redskins, and he's not getting his name getting thrown to the dirt or that GM that was there. So, hey, you know what? John Gruden, get every stinking penny you can from the NFL, because you know what? You may have said these things in private. You never thought that they were going to become public. We've all have said some things in private that we never want to get exposed to the public.
Absolutely.
And the NFL had a witch hunt here, and they made him the scapegoat here. And you know what? They're trying to hide behind that. And I think it is horse shit what they did.
You're so right. But before we go any further, we need to figure out how to roll back the clock and delete the fact that you said Washington Redskins, so that this doesn't happen to you 20 years from now. Okay. And as much as I'm laughing,
You're right. You're right.
what somebody wants to say that, they have more of a right, because we're doing a podcast.
Right.
You weren't sending your buddy Billy a private email.
Right.
And slipped and accidentally said Redskins, even though they're the Washington football team. Okay. Right. And think how easily what you just did could be misconstrued.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
20 years from now. Well, look
Absolutely.
at Kenny. He's
Absolutely.
anti-American, you know.
He said something about homosexuals and females being abused or whatever, and you can make any context of what you say to fit your
20 years from
narrative.
now, who knows that we're even allowed to say that word, homosexuals?
Yeah.
That's mutated a zillion times. I mean, all these words mutate and change, and what we're allowed to be called and what we're not allowed to be called. And
But funny. Well, Billy, what about this? September 4th, we could call them the Cleveland Indians. When they walked off the field, we had to call them the Guardians.
Right. And until some guard dog eats a baby, and they say, "Oh no, we can't do that anymore." You know, I mean, we're not supposed to say the word bullpen anymore in baseball, because that's where cattle sit before they get slaughtered. All I know is, Kenny, every cow I've talked to has told me they don't have a problem with this. Well, I mean, when I asked them if they had a problem with it, they just looked at me and went. So I figured that meant it was okay. But no, Gruden sent out private emails. This is a joke. This is all about Snyder, and whatever they found out there, they're not letting out.
That's what there's a cover up here. There's a cover up.
Oh my God.
It's a huge cover up here. And that's why I'm fully on board with Gruden getting it whatever he can, because you know what really was, I think the bottom line is, I may be off. The NFL did not want to go into a battle with Danny Snyder if they tried to make Danny Snyder sell the team.
Their salary.
Yes. So they did not want to try to go on fight with a billionaire with all kinds of money, and then all the stuff that Danny Snyder knows. You know, they didn't want that. They didn't want their dirty laundry exposed. And so they said, you know what? This is the lesser of two evils. We're going after John Gruden. Boom, we're going to expose this. Not going to be in football anymore. And I hope, I don't want this to be on Gruden for it to be a tough deal for him, but I hope he gets everything he can exposed about what this whole case is about. That's what I would like to see come to light. You know, who else covered up what, whoever covered up this. I mean, we already know that the Washington football team had problems with their general manager with all the sexual cases against those female reporters and everybody else that was coming through Washington. We already know that. That's, to me, very low on the totem pole. And that's a big thing. You know, that's a big thing. So I would love to know, did Danny Snyder take a big, deep breath when John Gruden took the fall? Or did he say, Are they going to come after me next?
Uh-oh. I'm next.
It'll be really interesting, man. But I just, I feel bad that they took his livelihood away for something that happened 12 years ago, in an email, in a private emails that you don't think is going to get exposed. You've lost your livelihood. Now, don't feel sorry for John Gruden. He's a very wealthy man. We get all that. But
no, but the thing is, yes, do feel sorry for him because he's vilified now.
yes.
There are people that aren't going to know all of this story. They're just going to read a snippet of it, and they're going to say, "Oh, Gruden, oh, racist. Gruden, oh."
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't matter how much money he's got. He doesn't have his reputation and his word, what his worth is anymore. That's so as a human, as a man, 100 million is not enough, 200 million. He wants all that back because just 6 weeks ago, he was one of the most respected guys in pro football. So,
and he should be because he's actually a good man. And like you said quite a while ago, we've all said and done things privately that we shouldn't have. We're hopefully not going to say those things on the air, but even that, things mutate, things change, and you and I are saying things that will probably be passe 20 years from now. I mean, I look
like, hey, this phone right here, last Saturday about 3:30, I said some things about Lincoln Riley I never want him to say.
Well, you remember when Robert Kraft got vilified for going to a massage parlor and getting the happy ending?
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things people don't take into account with stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many men form a happy ending to themselves when they got to wear 6 Super Bowl rings?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You just don't want people exposing everything in your closet. I mean, we all got skeletons. We all said some things, and that's part of life. You learn from it. Maybe you said a racial slur. Maybe you said something, against gay rights, whatever, back in the day. We're all trying to get, I should say all, we're trying, most people are trying to get better and say acceptable terms, whatever may be the case, even if we don't understand why we have to do it. I think there is a concerted effort to do that. But for people to go back into your past and try to drug up stuff that happened way, way back when and hold that against you for now, that's a discredit to you for the change you may have done during that time. You might have said those words 10 years ago, but now not to. So, Gruden might not be saying those words now.
Absolutely not. He didn't say them. He didn't say them. He wrote them in private in an email that you don't expect to ever get out there. And there are so many things out there that never get talked about or said in public because we're afraid to say them. I mean, I remember a time in baseball when Jesse Jackson started taking some shots at Major League Baseball not having enough, and I'm even afraid to say the term. Do I say blacks? Do I say African American?
You can say blacks in front of me. It's good enough.
Well, you get my point, though. I mean, what's going to be okay 10 years from now, 20 years from now? But the term was blacks at the time, and so my father took a stance because these guys on his coaching staff and team were afraid to, because the term they told me was they didn't want to be known as an Uncle Tom. Right. So my father said to the press, Jesse, go to other sports.
Yeah.
Baseball doesn't want your help right now. We were the first sport to integrate. We don't want the next black man that gets hired to lose respect because people are going to say, oh, they had to hire him because he was black, because that's not how baseball works. No. There are lots of blacks in baseball. They're going to move up because they're great baseball men. And I remember hearing him say that at the time, going, oh, geez, this is going to be bad. And then as soon as he was done, Elston Howard and Cliff Johnson and
right.
all the black players on his team were hugging him. Thank you, Skip. Thank you. Thank you for saying that for us.
And Ellie
and it went
Howard.
down great. And I was amazed.
Elston
and
Howard
then-
was one that did that for your dad too. He was happy. I mean, and Elston Howard's on that staff then when that went down. So yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so, when the term African Americans came out, how did that make you feel?
I was just confused. I was like, I go, I'm not from Africa.
Thank you. You know how many guys I've had say that to me and say, look, I don't want this to go the wrong way, but I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from Texas. I'm not from Africa. What do I have to do with Africa? And
to be
I walk around. So are people supposed to say to me, well, Billy's an Irish, Italian, German, Portuguese American? It's like, no, we're just all Americans.
Did you just check all the grids there? Italian, German. You just check like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, so they can start saying, well, no, he's a balding American. Or,
well, I always told him I had no desire to go to Africa and live either. So it's like, but everybody's so sensitive. It's unreal. But you know what? That's all right. That's why you listen to this show, because we're not going to get really sensitive about all that stuff. The Guardians, we may have to change that name too, since it looks like they're going to go to court on that. What? Can you believe that nobody checked to see if that name was used at all before we decided to go plaster that this is going to be our name everywhere?
all I know is every Native American I've asked about it thinks it's cool. The name Indians is they're fine with it. And I think it's great because at the end of the day, you don't name a team mascot after something you don't love and respect. You don't name a team the Milwaukee Jackasses, right? You name them something you honor and respect, not something you're making fun of.
Exactly.
So what? I don't get it still.
Don't get it either, buddy. Oh, well, hey, guys, we do appreciate you listening to us. As always, man, please subscribe to us on YouTube and Rumble. We greatly appreciate it. Please send us any comments on Facebook or Instagram or, Twitter. I'm on Twitter all the time. You can PM me if you don't want to make it public. But, hey, we love your comments and anything that can help us, man, make it better for you guys. I mean, I know Billy and I talk about this off camera a lot. We want this to be something that you guys really enjoy, something maybe you look forward to. We'd like to get to a point where we can do multiple ones during the week if we could get it to that point. We'd like to bring you 2 or 3 podcasts a week. So, man, any suggestions at all, please feel free to, let us know. We'd greatly appreciate it. I know my man Billy over there, man, I appreciate your patience today. We had a little computer issues, but we're okay now. So I appreciate it like always, man. I want you to have a wonderful week, man. I look forward, next week we have to try to do it a little early. I know Thanksgiving is coming up, but we'd like to try to get a podcast in before Thanksgiving. Maybe you can listen to us when you're on the road, and we'd appreciate it.
Well, thanks for everything, everybody. And throw a thumbs up or a like on that stuff too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
Do that. Hit that Rumble button. Bring that 5 cents every Rumble that comes our way. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it, man. We'll be back. We'll see you guys next week.